Something to think about with Dale Happy Knowles.
Pumpkin, banana, peas, and corn. We all back with you. Today, on this blessed February the 8th, on the good Lord's Day, or however you are so inclined, we ask you, can you taste it? The pumpkin, banana, peas, and corn. Straight out of Eden's farming. Do you want your own? Well, subscribe, like, follow, and drop a comment in the description so that we could answer your questions, and share, because tonight we're going to get a lot of nuggets that are going to help you be able to start your own backyard farming. So we welcome you all to Something to Think About with Dale Happy Knowles. We pause, we think about it with intentional thought, and consider where we want to go with it. What we think, we become. What we radiate, we attract. What we imagine, we can achieve. So let's change the narrative 242. Tonight, our guest, who is going to be Mr. Philip Davis II. You know, people who got two numbers behind their name, you know, they some esteemed people. He has a privileged education, but he's the son of the soil. He is an educator by profession, and he's a self-trained backyard farmer by choice. He has roots in the family islands, and he's the proprietor of Eden Farming. Which is poised to do something really, really big. So we'd like to welcome you to the show, Phil. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Dale. Pleasure to be here.
Glad that you were having fun. So when we spoke, you radiated a lot of passion. And from that passion, I know that as we know that you're from a well-to-do family, we wondered why so much passion for something that people consider to be grunt work in farming. You know, that's how the Bahamian people go. When they think about hard work, you know, they feel that that's a little down. It's not where the elite function. And so we want to have that real conversation today to show people a different perspective of farming, and particularly backyard farming, where they can actually see success and how we can get to be even better. Mm-hmm. So we asked the question to start off, why Eden Farming? Why that name? Because there's power in the name.
Obviously. I'm a marketing major, so words that we say and certain things that we do will resonate. It'll have a different energy to it. And we call ourselves a Christian. And I know that when we start from in the Bible, you go to Mark 4 will give you the parable of the sower. And from in there in Mark 4, it explains that if you understand this parable, then you won't be able to understand anything else within the Bible. And inside that parable, it's actually showing us what you were talking about, people thinking that farming is the actual hard work. That's the curse from the Garden of Eden. So it states if you don't put in the effort to grow your own food, anything else that you do is going to be the hard work. And I can testify for that. Since I've been farming for my own food, the costs, the quality, everything has completely changed. You can take a quarter acre inside your yard and grow for a family of 4. Now, normally, if you weren't growing inside your yard, a family of 4 would cost you between $15,000 and $20,000 at the end of the year just on food, not entertainment or anything like that. But if you took an acre inside your yard,
But that's average here because Bahamians like to eat.
Oh yeah, but now again, you're talking about the quality of food and everything that you're taking in from what you're going to be growing. So you don't have to eat as much. So a lot of what we're eating now on the outskirts and stuff like that, we have to do more because that's more caloric intake than the actual nutrients that we need to sustain our bodies. Wow. So if you're growing these inside your yard, you don't need as much, and you don't need to become a vegetarian. You just include these foods inside your regimens or the daily activities of eating, and you get that nutrients, and you're sustaining your body way better than supplements and sticking over the counter.
And so that type of food will also help you with your immune system because you're getting, like you said, quality food from the ground that is properly nurtured and not from farms that has already been depleted. The soil has been depleted, and so the produce don't have really the proper nutrients in it. Is that correct?
Exactly. A number of good doctors will always tell you that your food be your medicine and your medicine be your food, instead of having to take supplements and these to be within that we digest daily.
Right. All right. So when we talk about backyard farming now, we're talking about this here in particular, Nassau rock and the Bahamas rock, this hard limestone rock. So the family islands that they've been doing a lot of farming over the years, but Nassau in particular, we just made this a concrete city. So for backyard farming, is it hard to facilitate? What goes into it? Do we need special gear? Do we need a lot of land? You mentioned a quarter acre. Do you need certain space where there's coverage from the sun or not the sun? What all is required? Hello? You there? He froze. Yeah, we lost him for a second. So as guests come back on this on the circuit, then we want to dwell into this deep dive into how we're going to get more people in the Bahamas to do backyard farming. Now, a person like me who have brown thumbs, right? Now, when it comes to a tree or something green that just can be put on the side and nurtured by itself on the most part, that's going to grow green. But something that might require some daily attention and the like, that mightn't be me. But, these are the things that you got to go through. One of the things we want to touch on in the show also is technology and how technology is going to help us in the backyard farming. But we see right now we're being a little challenged with technology, just being able to complete the show. And hopefully, Brother Phil will be able to join back really, really quickly and see what was going to be happening. But as we do normally, we ask you to make your comments in the description or the comment sections. And so we will endeavor to answer all of the questions that you have on backyard farming. You can ask me how much money in my bank account or whether I hang out with Remington on the blacklist or any of those type of things. But let's stick to farming today. And we will also leave Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for another day. But we do congratulate them for having a successful year, culminated in the Super Bowl title, going to him for his 7th title for in his career, being most of all, particularly in the active players and any team, I think, and the like. We keep them in mind that is a system, a structure that will be the same as doing a backyard farming, that they all have some system or structure that we have to follow. And we also have in the news a number of hotspot topics that is keeping the people occupied. We here in the Bahamas is getting poised for what we call the silly season when we ramp up into a general election. The general election has to happen by the 2022, May or so of 2022, but it can happen in the Bahamas. We can call a general election at any time before that, within that window up to that time, but it can't go beyond that. And so there's a number of persons who are on edge because they don't know if they're getting nominated again, but they can always run independent. But all these things are required because the government forms the policies that will allow things like backyard farming to be able to be blossom into something big. And if we consider the amount of people in the Bahamas, and like Phil was saying about the 4 persons per household, if we could feed them, and that's 20,000 right there, and we look at the fact that the average household don't make 20,000 a year, as I looked at the last statistics, which wasn't anytime recently, but I think the last ones were showing somewhere around 20, 25. So, that's a substantial chunk of money that is being distracted or diverted that we could redirect and have more quality things, because as we eat better, there's less need probably to go to the doctors, which is, we know the cost of that. I personally know that big time. But it's a number of things that we have a trickle effect. And so what we need to do is to be able to have these types of conversations so that we could all change the narrative nationally. And hopefully everything will spin into a scenario where we will be able to cause greater production and be more sustainable in the Bahamas ourselves. And so as we go to these items, we want to be able to do the drawdown. And like you say, if you're available and you want to ask a question, be sure to go on the Facebook page or the YouTube page and be able to join us as we have it. And so now we have Sir Phil back with us, and we were just touching on some sidebar stuff as the football season and what's happening with the ramp up for the new political environment and elections and the like. So I think when we broke off with our internet services kicking out, that we were talking about the power in the name, and then also in facilitating what goes into facilitating a backyard farming. So you want to pick up from there? Can you hear me?
Yeah. So the power in the name, it's really about getting back to the connection with Mother Earth. If you understand the energy flow or the chi of which the human body has, the ground is called the ground for a reason. If you understand anything about electrical circuit, you have to be grounded to make sure that sporadic energy don't go all over. So in essence, farming is bringing us back to our natural way, our natural substance to control our energy, and also to put the right nutrients back into our bodies.
Right. Great. Okay, and so in terms of the facilitating backyard farming, we talked about whether it was special gear or special space, or there was any parameters that was in place that the basic person who has a home and a backyard might be disqualified from. Is there any of those things, or is it just simply basic back, dig a hole in the ground and the like, and go from there? I mean, knowledge is always power, but
On my end, you're breaking up a little bit, but I believe I got the gist of what you were saying about setting up in your backyard and everything. There's a number of ways that you can set up in your backyard to grow your own food and your own substance. So you can go directly into the soil, but like you would have to know a lot about crop rotation and the nutrients that you need. Our ground, yes, it is calcium based. We are limestone based, so a lot of things like tomatoes and stuff will grow well in our environment. A lot of the times when you're growing things and you have to add in different fertilizers and stuff, the potassiums, the nitrogens, and everything, that's because they're being depleted out. So if you're going to farm directly into the ground, you have to watch into the nutrients that you're putting into the ground and what the plants are taking out. So you need to know your balance. All right. The second phase that we can do inside of your yard, you can go into raised beds or into
Okay,
containers.
before you leave
That's a more controlled.
sorry, before you leave the on the
Hello?
ground scenario, are there any regulations for what you could put in the ground, or that's just wide open? Whatever is sold in the store, you could use.
If you now dealing with the ground, you have to deal with density. So basically, if you can't stick your finger loosely into your ground up until about the second or third knuckle, then you're not going to be able to grow anything inside your ground. The roots won't be able to spread. They won't be able to find the oxygen or the moisture or anything like that. So it's got to be nice soil. So a lot of the times when a lot of people are going directly into their yard to farm the first time, the grass will come up, and that will pretty much loosen up the top maybe 1 or 2 inches of your soil. You got to go down at least another 2 to 3 inches before you can really start thinking about root production on a healthy plant. So if you're going to farm directly into your ground, you pretty much got to see the space that that the pot would be provided for that plant. You dig that space out into the ground, make sure it's nice and loose, and be good to go from. All right. The difference between that and the raised beds, which is the second step, the raised beds, you can pack in way more plants inside a smaller space, and you can actually control all the nutrients and everything inside of it. So once you're watering it, you know exactly what's going on all of your plants directly from there. All right. The third phase, you're going into your aquaponics or your hydroponics, where you're not even dealing with any type of soil whatsoever. Nutrients and stuff are coming straight through the water. So if you have a fish pond or a tank where the fish are eating the organic matters and putting it back into the water through the poop actually goes back into the roots and the plants, and it's fertilized and everything. So it's a healthy system. So there's a number of ways that somebody can start directly into their yard to grow their own food.
Okay, and so now, so there's those three. Are they done basically in stages, or should somebody could just pick any one of the three to choose based on the criteria you mentioned? If your finger can't go in the ground, obviously the ground is not an option. But the beds, I think, is what most people are probably opting to do, where you could put put the scenario where you would put your plants in and the like, right? So would that be fair to say that that would be what the majority person should opt to do first? Where you going again? Boy, the internet people are killing us today. Well, hopefully Phil will be able to join us back very shortly. And I don't know if what's happening through his corner, but we're gonna be able to go to the break shortly. As soon as he comes back, we want to do one thing, and then we want to go over to the break and the like. Now, I have a bed, but my bed is not outside. My bed is in my room. But my sister has, and a tenant has, a few beds of crops that they have, that they choose to try to do their farming. And it's been a good experience for them because it's kept them focused on the difference. Now, what I think they are missing is education. And so if we could go from now, Phil, and we could look at it and say, walk us through the fundamentals, the planning and layout, the soil preparation, the watering schedule, the sunlight management. If there's a moon element, some people tell me you got to plant during certain moons. And then, I mean, that goes a little deep for me, but walk us through that kind of stuff.
All right. Basically, once you're going into your yard, the first thing that I would recommend you to do is to look at your yard at different times of the day to see how the sun affects it. So if you see, and I can tell you right off the top, if you go to the northern side of your house, first thing in the morning, going straight on to the evening, that's going to be the most shaded. So you're not going to see your direct sunlight, your UV rays, and all that. Most plants or most seeds recommend temperatures above 85 degrees to germinate. So if they're not going to see that intensity of the sun, then they're not going to come up. All right. So that's the first thing that you're going to look at inside of your yard. All right. So we try to avoid the northern side. But if your neighbor's yards are close or you've got trees and stuff like that that are blocking the sunlight, that's probably not a good area to start off your seeds. All right. The second part we'll be looking at is your soil. All right. So normally what we do in the Bahamas, we end up putting a bunch of curry fill in our yard or regular top dirt. I wouldn't even call it soil, top dirt. It doesn't really have many nutrients inside of it for you to sustain your plants to grow. So what you would end up having to do is to bring in some either topsoil, or you would have to make some amendments to your soil, things like your seaweed, your regular cut grass, which will add nitrogen and stuff right back into your soils, and other things like banana plants and stuff. So composting and stuff help you out with your soil. So you're going from the sunlight, then you're looking into your soil, then you're looking into the water. So once again, if the density of your soil, meaning that if it's too compact, you can't stick your finger into it.
Right.
If you go to it, that water is just off the top of the soil and run off to a different area. You won't even find the roots of your plant. So you have to make sure that when your water goes, and you have to slowly. So if you water slowly, it'll be able to penetrate to get to your roots.
Right.
Second part of watering, dealing with your plants, it's delicate balance that you're dealing with. Your plants need that water, and they need oxygen. The only way that they really get that oxygen content to the roots is when there isn't that much water in the soil. And with anaerobic, aerobic situations with your water. So typically you'd soak your soil once you have your plants and stuff in there and they're growing. You would soak your soil for 1 day and come back to water it on the 3rd day. So you allow for the water into the plant, pulls up, and then when that water is gone from in the soil, that creates the pockets of the oxygen for the oxygen to get into those roots and stuff as well. So dealing with the sunlight, you're dealing with the soil, you're dealing with the moisture as in your watering. Next phase to that would be your nutrients. So you would have to look into your plants and everything to see if the leaves are nice and green, if the stems are nice and healthy, and if they're producing their flowers. Because obviously, if you're going to be vegetable, if it doesn't flower, you're not going to see anything.
Right.
You got to make sure all these elements are in tune. Now, what this essentially is doing is building back our relationship with her. So we're having that tangible relationship with her. So it's going to be reciprocal. If we're feeding into her and we're giving her exactly what she needs, she's going to give us exactly what we need back. It's a win-win situation.
Like a marriage.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. Exactly. God gave us Mother Earth. We attend to her. And we decided not to do it. We want to go and take on other jobs and stuff like that to feed ourselves. That's why when we started off, that was absolutely key to tie in with Mark 4. That's the curse that we got from taking ourselves out of the Garden of Eden. We don't want to do the work that God had for us to do. You think you could go on your boss tell you to do something, and then you decide to do what the janitor or somebody else says and expect to get your bonus at the end of the day? No, God is here on this earth to do a job, and we decided that we want to listen to somebody else do something. That's our curse. We can fix it.
Right. So this issue about the moon now, is that have any relevance, or that's just folklore talk, or the like? Where people say you have to plant certain things in certain seasons or certain times of the month where the moon is at a certain crest or whatever the terms is that they use?
Unfortunately, the last couple of hurricanes that came in could tell you exactly the power of the moon. The storms that came in, it was a red moon. That's that king tide. King tide. What the moon really does is it tells you the water level. So if you want a root crop, you want a full moon to plant on. All right, so that's telling you where that water level is for your plants to have a good success. So you have to watch that. So like I was saying with the hurricanes, these hurricanes came in on full moons or special moon that only comes around once every 4 to 5 years. These are super, super, super moons. All right, that's the energy of the moisture inside the soil. So yes, the old days farmers, they go by that moon directly from. That'll tell you the water levels in the ground. If you're going to waste your time putting in something that's not going to get the nutrients. And remember, back in the days when our ancestors were farming, there wasn't really any irrigation or anything like that. They became massive, so they'd be able to read the skies and stuff and say exactly when rain was coming. But like we were saying, waxing moon, new moon, pale moon, all of those things give an indication of the water level inside the soil that will tell you exactly what you can grow.
Wow, it sounds like some good stuff, man. And I gotta probably pull out my brown thumb and turn it into green thumb and get my fingers dirty again and try plant some. So after the break we're gonna get into what we can plant, because for people like me with brown thumbs, we need to find something that could be successful, because we don't want to quit too early. But before we go to the break, as we talk about the green thumb and the brown thumb, is that a true statement, or is that just a lack of education why some people have green thumbs and some people have brown thumbs?
I would say it would be a terminology towards the level of knowledge you have about the plant. So yeah, a green thumb, I guess you could say it'll be just like a stoplight or light signal. A green light will say you the right. You can go all day. So that thumb is just pretty much an indicator of saying that person is on their way to being a great farmer. They're being tilling into the soil. They're doing exactly what they need to do. Brown thumb wouldn't even worry about that. You're gonna help them. Because if you look at a tree, most of the stalks of the trees are brown, right? And you have to travel up that. Yeah, you can start off with your brown thumb and you'll develop into a green in no time.
Right. Okay, so you've been listening to Something to Think About with Dale Happy Knows. We're discussing pumpkin, banana, peas, and corn, which are growing with Phil Davis II, who is our local backyard farmer that we are in contact with and can help us all become very healthy and nutritional persons from our own ground without having to spend our life savings to do so. So we'll be back in about 2 minutes after these messages.
Just on another planet.
Welcome back to Something to Think About with Dale Happy Knowles. We've been having this conversation on backyard farming with Phil Davis II, young entrepreneur, passionate son of the soil who's making a difference. And we know that he has some big plans on the table that we will hear his name ringing left, right, and center as we move forward. So before the break, we start talking about those fundamentals that can draw us to getting a successful backyard farm. So now we want to touch into what we can grow in the backyard. And so to help us with that, we have a short video that we will play, which will take us through Phil's backyard, Eden farming in his backyard. So if we can just start the video, now we will go. Boom.
Hey there, Eden farmers, and welcome back. Right here at Eden Nursery. Did some revamping today. Had some seedlings, needed some space. Backside we've got red ruby lettuce in with some Cuban oregano. In the front here we've got Spanish thyme in with the radish. We've got turnips and bell peppers are just starting to flourish inside here. They're coming on pretty nice. And these are the red variety. Inside here we've got the onions. So our red onions should start to pop out of the ground soon. All right. Brussels sprouts, they'll take a little bit longer, and then the garlic chives right there on the side. We've got the tomatoes that's grown inside this, already trellised up onto the fence. Got this straightened up inside here. So from all of the seedlings at the bottom, so from mangolas to key limes, avocados, mints, passion fruit, turmeric, what's that in there? Hog plum, Cuban oregano. We've got the mulberry. So that's two of the mulberries, as you can see. This is grown from clipping. Leaves are starting to come up on that one. We've got the cherries, and we've got neem inside there. All right, specialty right here. I think this one is the white devil's tongue. I got some other ones growing in too, so can't wait to try that one out. Seedlings graduated. Wongbuck in. So 5 different types of tomatoes in here. Kales, Thai lettuce, more kale. This section, we got in 4 different types of tomatoes today. So all in their rows. They're already done. So all I got to do now is maintain and get it done. So if you guys want this type of service in your yard, just let me know. And Eden can get right to you, all right? And get you activated. Happy Eden farming.
All right. So there you got a little walkthrough to see, it's doable. It's not something that is space age or need a rocket scientist to help you do. Knowledge is power, yes, and get the right knowledge. You have people like Eden's Farming and Phil, those who can help you do your own yard. But we wanted to show you that territory there is not huge, expansive, and so that you can see is something that you could do in your area. One of the things that impressed me when I first went was how many produce can be produced in your backyard. The amount of the things that you called off, Phil, I was like, huh? All of that? And some of these things I don't even know how to I wouldn't say spell, but yeah, I mean that too, but this might have been the first time I ever know about them, because I know we like our macaroni and cheese and this and that and stuff, but we need to put more greens and stuff and cut down on the cancer and the rest that happens, right? So Phil, as you know, what can we grow in addition to what you mentioned, or you could even touch on some of the things that you highlighted there in the short video.
All right. To start off with, I would advise anybody to get into the cruciferous family. And the cruciferous family is one of those quick germinating plants, guaranteed to germinate within 3 days, and you can be eating your produce within 30 days. All right. They will mature up until about 6 days or so. But when you were talking about getting into something and being able to see a result so that you don't quit and you still have that enthusiasm to keep on going, I would advise anybody to get into that. Those plants will be things like your radish, your cabbages, your arugulas, some onion chives, not all lettuces, but buttercrunch lettuce, red hip lettuce, and stuff. They will germinate within 3 days. So these are seeds and stuff that you put directly into the ground, and they take the direct sun. We live in zone 11. Florida is zone 9A, 9B. All that zoning is telling you is about the intensity of the sun. So our sun is special to us inside the Bahamas. So the cruciferous family, once you're planting those, you should be fine to go straight ahead. The least amount of watering and maintenance to the cruciferous family set of vegetables. That's why I say that they're the best set for the people to first start off with. When I started off straight into tomatoes and other plants. And when I tell you, I killed more than when I could eat, I learned the hard way. I don't want to do it that way, all right? So
Right.
certain things that you can get from the food store as well that will grow right away. Onion chives, mint, basil, these things, you can take them and put them in a glass right inside your kitchen window. Leave it there for about a week or so. They'll grow roots and you can put them into the ground. These are just certain things that you can start off. Broccolis, cauliflowers, straight from the food store. Base of those will grow roots as well that can start to grow too.
Now, wait now. You say from the food store? And then what? So the broccoli I get on the food store, that frozen stuff, I can put that in the ground and that'll grow?
Now, it wouldn't be frozen. You gotta go in the refrigerator section, usually all the way to the right side as soon as you walk in the food store.
Right.
Those right there, the number of those, if they are organic. I'll say that again. If they are organic, they will grow. If they do not, you will know that they grew them with a substance and it's not meant for you to regrow them. So if it's not meant for you to regrow, probably not for you to eat it.
Yeah. So Quarantine Burroughs asked the question about what is the easiest food or plant that we could grow for people like me and him, I guess, who might not be as savvy as you to get started.
I would go, if you're talking about a plant.
No, food for food.
Yeah, obviously for food. It would probably be banana or a plantain. They are part of the succulent family and you don't have to water them at all. Maintain inside of them once the roots grow, and they will push out a secondary, third, and fourth plant for you. That's the best way to stick that right in the corner of your yard. And once it starts to produce you, that is it. No maintenance whatsoever.
Okay, that sounds good. I know we got a couple of banana trees in our yard that the hurricane tried to do something with, but he was dancing like the queen, and you know, at the end of the day, they still come out sweet.
Yep. That's but your energy, the energy that you probably put into them, you go into your yard and your plants see you and stuff. I talk to my plants and stuff like that too. So it's and meeting you, I know that you're a good energy. So plants pull that energy off of you. So even if you're a or anything like that, and you go into your yard feeling negative, your yard will convert you. The Garden of Eden is where we're supposed to be. Bounce that energy in us, hey?
Get you rolling. So how simple is it to grow the produce that you are highlighting? Is that we talk about those couple of things that can be low maintenance, but the majority of the items that you had in the video, are they can anybody duplicate that, or is that takes a lot of skill and knowledge to do?
Not at all. within the Eden Farming Club, what I actually do is when I come to your yard, I will either bring the seeds or the seedlings. And normally when I plant something in your yard, I start very same time inside my yard. And I'll normally label it and stuff like that. So Dale, if I come into your yard and if I plant something inside your yard, I'll plant that at home as well. I know that when mine is about to harvest, I can give you a call or a text to tell you exactly what's happening with your plant if you're following the regiment. So it's that easy. Most of the times when I come, all you have to do is water. I've already built in all the amendments and your soils inside your fertilizer in your soil. Most of your vegetables are only going to go up to about 90 to 100 days. So that's 3 months. The fertilizer or organic fertilizer that we put inside, built in for your raised beds or into your ground, they will get that fertilizer. So I know that will last entire time for your plants to maturity. So when I come to your yard through Eden Farming, all you have to do is water for your first time. And then beyond that, it's like we'll go from level 1 to level 2, and I'll give you more information as we go on as to how deep to plant the seed, when to plant the seed, what seeds you can plant at a certain time. So you get your guidance straight through. Baby steps.
Okay, great. So that means that you have mentorship, which a lot of things that in the Bahamas we tend not to have. And so Eden Farming provides that mentorship with hold our hands and get us along the way that we can. So folks, remember now that you can ask your questions, or you just go in the Facebook or the YouTube chat section and drop a note, and we will see your questions pop up. Somebody sent this question as an inbox, which it says, how did you learn about farming? Agriculture schools, YouTube. I mentioned self-learn earlier. What was that process like?
I am strictly the school of Google and YouTube. All right. Yeah, I went to school for marketing. I'm a business major. At the end of the day, I realized that the source of food and stuff that we were taking in or getting from the food stores really didn't have any nutrients in it. So being an athlete and coaching athletes as well, it's important that they all the nutrients they need to be in shape. So the best way to do that is to grow your own nutrients. And I know that most of the vegetables and stuff that we grow, once you harvest them, they lose 15% of their nutrients within the first 24 hours. So you're not getting anything. It's just
hold on there. Within the first 24 hours, say that slowly. What happens?
Within the first 24 hours of a vegetable or fruit being harvested, it will lose 15% of its nutrients. That's the first day. So these products that are sitting in the food stores for a month, 2 months, you're not getting anything. And the same way that I explained that day when you guys came here to get your harvest. Spinach. Spinach is one of those products that actually loses 5%. 95% of nutrients with the first day that it's picked. So most of that spinach that you're buying from the food store, it doesn't have anything in it.
Right. And then that's the food store. That don't even include the dock or on the plane or the boat or wherever else it's been taking time.
Same process. And the ones that come in on the plane are because they have to pass through radiation. To be scanned. Yep. So we got to think about all of these things when we're putting it into our system. The process in which they're coming. So one, we don't know exactly what fertilizers or chemicals throwing these in, or the pesticides or the bug problems that they have in whatever climate they're growing them in. That's why it's always better when you're looking at a product or produce, don't look at size and stuff like that. That's what food stores and stuff are doing to us now. They're talking about quality, stuff like that. The real quality of a fruit or a vegetable is the nutrients that it contains in it. So a lot of the times when you're getting something organic, it's going to be a lot smaller than something that has the top fertilizers that somebody's feeding into it. But it's not necessarily the best product for you. So a lot of the times people will shun the smaller product because they want their money's worth, but their money's worth is actually in the nutrients.
So talking about the nutrients then, if there was such a thing in the food stores that could match what comes out of a well organized backyard farm, what grade of food would be the closest to what comes out of that you could produce
Out
in
of
your
the
backyard?
I honestly don't think there is anything even close to it. The smells of the food will be different. The texture of it will be different. If you take a sweet pepper that's grown in your backyard and a sweet pepper that's commercially grown, you can automatically tell the difference from the skin on the outside. And the skin on the outside will tell you the amount of moisture that's put on the inside. Now, when I talk about the nutrients that's being lost from a product, I guess gases being emitted from the product itself. The denser the skin is on the outside, normally it's going to hold in more gases. And what ends up happening too with foreign products and stuff that they're bringing in, they have to pick them a lot sooner. And it's not actually really matured or ripened. So a lot of times it's ripened and stuff. So you're not getting the actual flavors or the scents or the touch of real organic product. So I'll say it like this. There's some chefs who buy from the food store and stuff, and then there's some chefs who will only get organic. A lot of the organic one, when you're trying to duplicate that cooking at home, you can't do it unless you have an actual product. So when you talk about a product being close to the organic, I'll say that there's none. There is none.
Right. But I could tell you that day when we came by you and picked up the packages of stuff, my car was smelling so good. My head I was breathing cleanly. I don't know if that had to do with like you said, energy coming from the ground or through the produce that we got, but I never had that experience from the food store. And picking up stuff from the food store. So some of those things that you was calling off, I was like, I know about that. But you know, as they give them to me, I try them. And they good. You know.
Pretty much gave you goosebumps and energy right away when you ate it, right?
Yeah. You know, you need energy. You know, energy is the way to work.
And so the food is a conduit of energy. So the cleaner your food is, the more synapses that you'll have inside your body with the energies being transmitted from one joint to the next and everything like that through your blood. All of that helps out with it.
Okay. So when we look at backyard farming now, I think there's a big one that somebody wanted me to ask, but I think I'll have to ask that one a little later. But what is needed to make sense of our backyard farming environment? What is missing? Why we don't having more people engage in backyard farming? Is it government policy? Is it funding? Is it structure? Is it availability of the materials that you need to do it? Is it education, learning? What are the issues?
Education first and foremost. It's mostly ignorance or the misconception that you need all day to farm. All right. The way in which that I farm, hopefully we can get to my actual farm one day. I'm farming on 191 feet by 85 feet across. There's no running water. I do hand pump. I do everything by hand. So I dig all the holes, I do all the trenches, put all the seeds in, tend everything face by face. Now, what it is you're just dealing with your intensity, a little bit of sacrifice, right? Usually it's only going to take you about 2 to 3 hours a day to get your farming done. When you want to start up, you really need about 4 to 5 hours for 3 days maximum in your yard space to get you set up.
And this is like, what kind of time of day we talking about? In the morning, evening?
first thing in the morning, last thing in the evening. So
Okay.
if you're going to work 9 o'clock, it is so easy to get your backyard farming in before you go to work. All right.
Mhm.
If you're going to work for 9, maybe you might have some kids to drop off to school and stuff like that. You might just get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock. But what this also does is it gets your energy from the sun as well too. Whilst you're out there with your sun gazing, UV rays, because our melanin skin is a piece of that chlorophyll as well that the plant gets its energy from. We get our energy from plants, from the sun as well too. So a piece of malnutrition is us taking in blue ray lights, which is on the side of a building or watching TV and stuff like that, versus you getting your actual UV rays from the direct sun. That's so like I said, you would know once we're sick, they'll tell you what, you got to sweat, you got to go in the sun, you need your vitamin D. Okay,
Right.
that's directly from the sun. So the timing in which we're looking at that's required for you to be successful in your yard is literally only about 2 to 3 hours a day. Take you half hour to water your plant, another about half hour to tend to them, and maybe another half hour to put in seeds. The other half hour within your 2 hours, you're just doing little maintenance work, maybe helping out a neighbor and stuff like that. And once you get into a routine of doing this every day, you'll find that you have way more energy when you get to work. And then think about the psyche of this as well. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Right.
When you don't have anything to eat, you're more likely to resort to violence.
Yep.
So imagine if you can put food on your table before you go to work. That means that you're not taking in any additional stresses or anything like that. So there's a polarity to the
Right.
hierarchy of needs. So that little 1 or 2 hours that well too, because you're moving first thing in the morning. You're getting your body going. So versus you spending $8, $12 a day to go to the gym, you could be going to the gym in your yard, and that gym is actually giving you back food to sustain your body. Gym itself isn't doing that.
Right. So it is education. So is funding a problem?
No, it really shouldn't be, because within the farming community, a lot of the times when farmers get together, you're going to barter. So if I've got seeds, I'm going to give them to you. You got seeds, you're going to give them to me. And it goes straight just like that. But also, the most expensive pack of seeds nowadays are about $7. But that's 400 to 500 set of seeds. So if you're looking at seedlings or helping out somebody else and you're talking about funding, that's $7 that I would have spent on about 400 to 500 seeds. If I germinate those and they come up within about 2 weeks to a month, and I sell those for $1 each or 50 cents each, that means I just made $170. I sell them at 50 cents each. It makes absolute sense, eh? If you actually take that seedling and you let that mature, get into a final product, like how I do, now you're making $5 to $8 per bag of product that you're selling, and you still have a plant to produce off of.
Right.
So the balance, the cost that you're looking at, it's really time and effort that you'll into farming versus the actual money. Now, if you're looking commercial side and you want to make a lot of money up, you're going to end up spending monies into tractors and soils and irrigations and different things. But the regular person in the Bahamas over the hill, this is why I set up my farm in this way. It costs zero money, just time. Just time.
Just deferring some of the money that you would buy, some of the fast food or snow cone on the weekend. But you can't cut my snow cone. But
exactly. Tree Bud Light or tree lick is $5.50 to $7. That's 2 packs of seeds right there. No.
Yeah. So those things are good. So we have a question here from Sonia Longley. It says, supplementing the soil in the yard is a cost, especially if there is more cracker dust than soil in the yard.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, cracker dust is something that's being added to your yard to lift the level. So in other words, you don't want your yard to flood or anything like that. So people will put cracker dust in there. Now, if you're actually looking into your yard to try and get some farming done, you're going to end up putting in topsoil. But topsoil costs way more than cracker or that curry dirt, eh? So if you cheat at the beginning to get your yard looking good and you want vegetables, do not go with that cracker dust. If not, you'll end up having to cut open those holes with the density, because the cracker dust, over time, the density is going to be too much for you to grow anything inside of that. Only grass will be able to.
But I mean, the cracker dust, for those who are using the beds, they won't have that challenge. But for those who farm it in the ground itself, for example, by me, I could use my hand to brush the dirt off, and then I have limestone. So I'm basically on rock, right?
Yeah.
So we find that doing things like oranges and tangerines and pomegranates and coconuts and I don't know, some of those type of things grow. Other than that, we put them in a bed and grow them out the bed. But
those plants just listed off, every last one of those send down a taproot first. So that taproot is passing all of that curry dirt to find the water level and the nutrients and everything that's sustaining those plants. So that's exactly what's happening. But if you really want to check out your soil with that cracker dust and stuff, remember I was talking about the anaerobic system where your roots of your plants need to be able to get in the water and the oxygen. Oxygen really isn't going to get there if the water sits there. So if you've got that cracker dust, before you plant anything, dig a hole, put water into that hole, and actually see how long it takes for that water to reside or to move from within that hole. If it sits there for longer than half hour, you're going to have problems.
wow, yeah, that's good. That's good knowledge right there. I tell you all, stick here because we're giving you something to think about. You know, this is the place to be. So thank you, Sonia and Lorraine, for those questions. And we have another one here coming in through the inbox. People, don't be afraid. I mean, just drop your notes in the people like to see when you make a comment, and when people realize that you're paying attention, then that has a big impact, because you know we don't want people to believe that we're writing these notes and just putting these up here. But the note says that, do you farm alone or with farm laborers?
Absolutely alone, by myself, 100%.
Me, myself, and I.
Pardon?
Me, myself, and I.
Me, myself, and I, and God. That's absolutely correct. That's what I do. Now, on my 1 by 85, I'll hire two laborers twice a month just to help me weed. Other than that, I do all my watering, I do all my maintenance, I do everything by myself. That's labor with God.
That come from Cat Island Spirit, or that's just basically what is easy to do. There's nothing special about it.
Nothing special. My mother from Barbados too, so I got another Caribbean side of me, and she's
and that's a farming area too. Yeah, so I've been to some of their farms. Yeah.
Yeah.
So scale. Talk about scale now, because some of us believe that, you know, we go to school and we learn about economics and supply and demand and all that, and economies of scales and this and that and stuff like that. Is scale an issue for backyard farming? Because we talking mainly, most households in the Bahamas has about what, maybe six people, especially as we go. I don't want to say it wrong, but the super rich may not have a lot of children, but the ones like me and you who might be somewhere in there, and then you have others who might have a little bit more children. So
the scale determines on what you want. Like I said, you don't have to become an absolute vegetarian or anything like that. Remember, what we're really doing is just adding in these nutrients so the foods are ready that you're consuming. So if you purchase your spinaches or anything like that, just grab the ones from within your yard, or the rosemaries or the thymes and stuff like that. Like when we go under the bridge, you're gonna get some fairly fresh stuff. But the fresh stuff that you're getting from within your yard to cook with these, the nutrients is going directly into your body. So the scale in which you're really growing for your nutrients. All right. So you can go as small as you want or as big as you want. So things like the peppermints and the basils and things like that, you're growing in water within your kitchen. You take off one leaf or two, and you can eat that throughout the day, and it's gonna benefit you. And the same way in which you decide to do on the outside of your yard. Yeah. So what I would recommend is start with a small section first, master on that, and then continue to grow straight through. Or even so, start off with one product and see if you could entice your next door neighbors or somebody else within the family to do another product. And now you have a co within your family or a group of friends. So if I'm growing kale, you're growing lettuce, the next one's growing onion, stuff like that. My scale only has to do with specificity, one product. Collectively, we can make a solid bar. So your scale is small as possible, or you can do the vast of everything in your yard like I'm doing now, but that's built up over the years. So don't bite off more than you can chew at the beginning. Make sure the scope is within which you can operate with.
Now, your farm to your yard, in those beds, you have, I call it 1,000,001 things in there, and we saw it on the video. How do you manage that? Is it that they all have common likes in terms of water requirements and sun, etc., or is that you have to pay close attention when you do beds like that with multiple things?
Well, I also build soil too. So I do all my composting, everything. When people were talking about the amendments, the soil and stuff previously in questions, when I do landscaping and stuff, I throw away anything. I've got mulching machines. When I keep grass, my grass goes to the side. I'll pick up seaweed off beaches and stuff like that and let it dry out. These are things that don't cost anything. Waste not, want none. So if you're gonna pay somebody to move that waste from within your yard, but that waste is actually nutrients that's going back into your soil and it builds that soil. So when I build my soil, I put certain things inside that holds in the moisture and the fertilizer to make it. So remember what I was talking about? The looser your soil is, the easier it is for those roots to spread. The first internet or sharing knowledge is actually between plants. A plant is being attacked by bugs. Well, kind of communicate through the roots and tell the other plant something is coming, and they'll either develop spikes or moisture on their leaves and stuff to make sure that the bugs can't sit on them or anything like that. So when you're talking about the density or the compaction of where I had the plants in those raised beds, that's within itself where the plants are actually making the atmosphere safer for all of it. And more plants can fit in there because the soil is so loose that the roots can spread and get all the nutrients that it needs.
Right. Okay, so two other things before we close up, because we running up there, and sooner or later the curfew thing can start kicking in. But and some of us got to hit the road. But talking about the curfew, COVID, and the nutrition from backyard farming, does that have a big impact on improving our immune system to be able to fight items like a COVID? Are you familiar with that?
The majority of the items that you're going to grow in your yard and your vegetables are going to directly benefit your respiratory system. It's going to open up your lungs. Like I say, it's that conduit of that energy that you're getting in from the foods. So it's going to open up everything, all your airways, all of that. Your metabolism is going to be boosted straight away. So the way in which that you can process or eliminate poisons from within your body, but it's also to be able to cut down on certain things within your life too. So glutens and sugars and certain things like that are going to build up the inflammation inside your body. You want to get rid of it. And a lot of the stuff that you eat in your yard is actually going to cure. But you can't be taking in a cure and the poison at the same time. You have to cut off. And you start to take in these nutrients from within your yard or from certain people from urban farming, you make your balance in your body with all the energies and everything intent. All right. So you're going to cut off the bad things and the good things, but the respiratory system, your airways, your energy level, your psyche, all of these things play into the wellness of when you're actually farming yourself versus purchasing the product to consume yourself.
So, yes, and also in terms of succession planning, you said you're doing a lot of these things yourself, me, myself, and I. Well, me, myself, and I isn't duplicatable. I mean, they three different aspects of the same person. So what happens? How do you succession plan so that that entity can continue to happen?
Yeah, so it, like I say, it requires a lot of sacrifice. So when you come at home, if you're gonna watch the news or something like that, I start off in seedling trays. So my energy and stuff that I'm using, I'll spend that half hour or hour of me watching the news and seeds. And it doesn't have to be done in the day. I'd actually do it at a time like this indoors. And in the morning, I'd start that off by watering it and it'll be activated from then. It's about the timing and stuff to operate. You can use your time wisely or foolishly. And remember, of all assets that you have in life, time is things you can get back, eh?
Yeah. So the big question before we close out here is, the Prime Minister has made some utterance in reference to this long talk on whether marijuana will be legalized for medicinal purposes and the like. Now, I think there's laws already in place that allows certain doctors to have permits in order to do those type of things. But is that an avenue for backyard farmers, or is that at a higher grade of farmer?
I would say this: the actual byproduct of marijuana is more profitable than the smoking side of it.
Yeah.
So when you're dealing with hemps and plastic and oil and glass and other things like that, the byproduct of marijuana is actually what you want. The smoking side of it, it'll make you feel good. It'll take away your stress and everything like that. Sativa, indica, whether it suppresses your appetite, increases your appetite, whatever it may be, those things are just on the side. What we're looking at, if you can buy a t-shirt that's going to last you 100 days straight off of hemp, you'll buy that over cotton any day, right?
Yeah.
3, 4, and that cotton is done. That hemp, that's going to stay there. The oils, stuff that are made from the hemps and stuff used in vehicles and stuff like that, they have no carbon off of them whatsoever. So my side that I'm looking at the marijuana, I'm looking at the byproducts of the marijuana, not the actual medicinal smoking side of it. The recreational, having fun. Yeah. But I do know it will help out with people with chronic illnesses and stuff like that. But when you're looking at real monies to put back into your economy and to say that you're gonna take yourself at a deficit, where you need to start looking at the byproducts of marijuana, not the actual smoking of it.
Yeah. So basically, but that's not necessarily something that could be found in the backyard.
Oh yeah, you can grow it easily. It will grow 7, 10 feet real quick.
So some people might knock down their house and just
pretty much.
Yeah.
The amount of it that you've got to grow to make sure that you can sustain or make a good amount of revenue off of it Yeah, it can be the concept of what they're saying with each home can put a beehive or two to their yard. I guess it'll be the same concept with the marijuana as well, and the grade in which you're growing, because there's different strains and everything as well.
Right. Awesome. Well, Phil, we coming to the end there, so I want to put it out to you now. I asked you a lot of questions. Is there anything that you want to say to the public out there that you would like them to know about backyard farming or anything to do with Eden farming?
Well, first and foremost, I would encourage any person to put their hands into the soil or even go outside barefoot. There is a stress relieving enzyme in the soil that will actually calm. So an aspect of farming, of you touching the soil and being in contact with Mother Earth, will actually calm you. So what I'll say for any person, even if you're not successful in producing a product, but the actual process, the process is where the blessings are farming. So just get out there. Don't be discouraged. If you need help, reach out to me or any other person who knows something about farming, and the energy level in which you are going to get back as a byproduct from your farming. All right.
Awesome. Well, Phil, it's been a real pleasure, and it's also enlightening to find some of the things. And actually, like I mentioned before, when you brought the produce and I put them in the car, at first I say all of this green stuff, where we get with all this stuff. But once that kick in and you talked about opening up your lungs, I can attest that I felt that, and that was only putting the stuff in the bag. I wasn't even eating it yet. So, I also encourage people to get involved, and particularly people like me who like to stop by to eat. The better you have stuff to eat, then, I might stop by more often. But we'd like to thank you kindly for coming on something to think about with Dale Happy Knows. I'm sure a lot of people got a lot of nuggets today that can help them go at least get started. And they can find you. You probably could say where they could find you number wise, and then and we could go from there. So you want to give a contact, or you okay?
Yeah, no problem giving it out. It's 426-8037. Once again, that's 426-8037. That's my cell phone. Other than that, I'm on Facebook as Philip Davis Jr. or Eden Farming Club. So either way, you can find me. Eden Farming Club is a private page. I'll have as a member, but from there I put in all the tips. I have all the videos there, tutorials. Like I said, you can shoot me a message. I will help you out in any which way I can.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, Phil. And so for all our listeners out there, we thank you for staying on with us the whole show. I hope it's been helpful for you, because it's our intent to cause you to pause, to think about it with intentional thought, and to consider where we ought to go from here. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, and share. The more this information get around, the more educated we become as a culture, and then that leads to more productivity and a higher value or grade of life for us all. So we welcome your support. If you want to sponsor any part of the show, or any of the members who might be trying to advertise on the show, do hit us up at something2think242@gmail.com, or on our Facebook page, or the like, where you can send a message to us. So be safe, enjoy your evening, and good night all.